Hello, today's presentation is going to cover another theory of international relations, that is liberalism. If you haven't checked the previous presentation about realism, please visit the page. So the term liberal has been used since the 14th century. The Latin word liber referred to a class of free men. Although the term dates to the Middle Ages, liberalism was not used as a political label until the early 19th century. There has been much discussion on how liberal ideas developed during the period of 1600s and 1800s, and those studying the history of political ideas have chosen to follow several different paths addressing a number of important social and political developments. These, however, are the most prominent ones. The political revolutions that happened in England, America, France, they highlighted in different ways, of course, important liberal themes. The themes included individualism, tolerance, freedom, and the need to restrict political power. The Enlightenment, namely the cultural movement seen during the 18th century, this movement questioned the traditions of religion, politics, and learning, showing that people could use their ability to reason in order to understand the world. And the third one, development of the modern capitalist society of the 17th century, when a middle class was created, basically. The members of this new social class were not willing for their economic and political freedom to be restricted, as happened under the absolute monarchy during the previous centuries. So it's basically quite obvious that a number of significant developments contributed to the development of liberal ideas. So, as you know, we have classical and modern liberalism. Classical liberalism is the political tradition that advocates free market and laissez-faire economics and civil liberties under the rule of law, with special emphasis on individual autonomy, limited government, economic freedom, and freedom of speech. Modern liberalism is the dominant version of liberalism. It combines ideas of civil liberty and equality with support for social justice and a mixed economy. In the following slides, we are going to dive deeper in those two. Classical liberalism consists of the following doctrines and theories: natural rights theory, utilitarianism, economic liberalism, social Darwinism, and neoliberalism. The natural rights theorists such as John Locke and Thomas Jefferson had a considerable influence on the development of liberal ideology. According to them, rights are natural because nature of God gives them to people. So Locke distinguished three natural rights. Those are life, liberty, and property. According to him, government is established in order to defend natural rights of people, and if government in any ways violates the rights of its citizens, then people have a right to overthrow it. Utilitarianism is a theory developed by Jeremy Bentham. He disliked the theory of natural rights and believed that he developed a more scientific theory that argued that individuals are motivated by self-interest. These interests can be defined as the desire to increase pleasure or happiness and the wish to avoid pain. So human beings, according to this theory, are rational thinking creatures, and each action of the individual is motivated by personal interests. So each individual should be able to pursue his or her own interests, and nobody should intervene in the internal affairs of this person. Theory of economics of liberalism advocates minimal interference by government in the economy. So, to cut it short, economic liberals tend to oppose government intervention and protectionism in the market economy when it inhibits free trade and competition. But they tend to support government intervention where it protects property rights, opens new markets, or funds market growth and resolves market failures. Social Darwinism is the study and implementation of various theories and societal practices that purport to apply biological concepts of natural selection and survival of the fittest to sociology, economics, and politics. So, liberalism explains social circumstances in terms of talents and hard work of each individual. According to this theory, strong species will survive and weak ones are not. So Spencer, for example, argued that natural selection takes place not only amongst animals but also in the society. Inequalities of wealth, social position, and political power are therefore natural and inevitable. Therefore, no attempt should be made by government to interfere with them. Any attempts of the government to create social equality, for example, is useless and undesirable. Neoliberalism refers to market-oriented reform policies such as eliminating price controls, deregulating capital markets, lowering trade barriers, and reducing state influence in the economy. So, political and economic policy model emphasizes the value of free market capitalism while seeking to transfer control of economic factors from the government to the private sector, also incorporating the policies of privatization, deregulation, globalization, and free trade. So, what are the elements of liberalism? Here we have individual, freedom, rationalism, justice, and tolerance. We are going to discuss each one of them in a more detailed way. Individualism is the core principle of liberal ideology. It reflects a belief in the supreme importance of the individual as opposed to any social group or collective body. So basically, liberals believe that individual welfare should come before social welfare or the welfare of any other collective group. Following this, liberals want to create a society that will allow people to succeed and develop, living their lives as they wish. This means that liberals are doubtful of any political viewpoint that attempts to control too much of an individual's life without leaving them to follow their own course of action, course of life. Although individualism has been a very important principle in liberal work, liberals have not always agreed how to define it. The American liberal John Dewey explained that within liberalism, some believe in abstract and others in social individualism. Abstract individualism is the individualism closest to the classical stream of liberalism. So the individual is considered a completely independent creature that owns its body and its personal abilities. As a result, only the individual receives the praise for any success during their life. Social individualism, on the other hand, connects individualism with wider units such as family, society, and even the nation. So liberalists have looked at individualism in a very different ways over the years. Despite the differences, each liberal agrees nevertheless on the general point that priority should be given to individual welfare. In other words, the individual is the starting point for every liberal, the most important unit. Freedom is a supreme political value for liberals. However, they are not in favor of absolute freedom. Liberals advocate freedom under the law because they recognize that one person's liberty may be a threat to liberty of others. There have been many argues on how freedom can be practically ensured, and in his famous writing, Two Concepts of Liberty, Isaiah Berlin mentioned two types of freedom, which are negative and positive freedom. Negative freedom is the type of freedom in which classical liberals believe. The idea behind negative freedom is that an individual is free, if left alone, to live their life without intervention, and that they may behave as they wish. This freedom is described as negative as it believes that any obstacles that could prevent the individual from achievement should be eliminated. So, what is positive freedom? True freedom calls for creating conditions giving the individual a fair opportunity to develop their abilities and understanding of world, and therefore they will be able to reach their potential as a person. In order to do that, positive steps need to be taken to ensure that individual gets the opportunity socially, economically, and politically to be an independent person. Liberals believe that people are reasonable and considerate and can decide which path to follow in their lives. This does not mean that liberals believe that people are incapable of making mistakes. It, however, means that liberals do not believe in the paternal ideas that tell people how they should live their lives. The emphasis on rationalism means that liberals believe in progress. They believe that the increase in knowledge over the last centuries, the scientific revolution, gave people a better understanding of nature of their world. The emphasis on reason means that liberals believe in discussion. They accept that conflict, for example, about how to share or how to use resources, will happen in any society. Nevertheless, when this happens, liberals believe that only open discussion is the way to overcome this conflict. They believe that this will succeed as people are reasonable. So liberals have three different definitions of equality. The first one, basic equality, means that liberals believe that the life of everyone is of equal value. The basic equality, in turn, leads to believe in formal equality. So it means that everyone should get the same formal status in society and that each person, no matter their background, has the same rights. Liberals oppose any regime that gives opportunity to some but not to others because of their gender or skin color or social class. The most common examples of formal equality are legal equality and political equality. The first requires equal treatment by the legal regime for all members of society regardless of the social factors, and the second requires equal treatment for all by the political regime, for example by giving the same voting rights or ensuring that all votes are of equal value. Thirdly, liberals emphasize equal opportunities, namely that everyone should get the same opportunity to succeed within society. This does not mean that liberals believe in absolute equality, but they do believe that people have to have the same starting point. Liberalism strongly believes in tolerance of diversity. Liberals are in favor of political pluralism and tolerance. They believe that social pluralism should be celebrated and promoted. In his famous volume on liberty, J.S. Mill argued that if a society allows many different ideas, views, and discusses them openly, this would promote social progress. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for more.